Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality back with you here today to go over a very recent event that was kind of shocking to see, and just how the left has essentially decided that free speech is not a value that they are fans of. So, a lot of you probably heard about this recently about the Riley Gaines situation that happened at San Francisco State University, where she was assaulted when she was coming out to speak to the campus about just I think it was just whatever, like her situation, I guess, in terms of the whole Leah Thomas thing that happened. And for people that don't know who Riley Gaines is, first of all, you probably heard about the situation with Leah Thomas, the transgender male to female swimmer who was annihilating women's records in the NCAAs. And for the NCAA, I guess whatever the swimming version of the NCAA tournament is. Sorry, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but the Nationals, I think it is what it's called. But Riley Gaines was like the number one swimmer in the world, I believe. And at the Nationals, Leah Thomas ended up winning, and Riley Gaines came out and said like the end, like that. I guess they tied or something like that. So I'm sorry that I said Leah Thomas ended up winning, but I think she said that they tied, but the NCAA, during the trophy thing, made her hand over the trophy to Leah Thomas and stand in like the first place space. So you can see like Riley Thomas in the same pictures, or Riley Gaines, I'm sorry, I mixed up their names. Riley Gaines looking over at her in the pictures like, what the hell? So this is Riley Gaines right here that you're seeing right on the screen. So Riley Gaines since then has been speaking out about men being involved in women's sports and essentially destroying all the records. And she just a little bit before this situation, she was on, I think it was the University of Pittsburgh campus, and some anthropologist, a PhD, like asked her a question about like, or basically said like men and women, there's no biological differences, and then, so she threw a question back to this guy, a guy or girl. I actually couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Had the name of a woman, but sounded like a man. But so I don't know. So I apologize for that. But she said like, if the bones of a man and a woman were dug up in 100 years, would you be able to tell the difference between those two things, or between the two sexes? Which, of course, if you're anthropology PhD, you should know the answer to that question is an obvious yes, you can tell. This person said no, and you can actually hear the crowd laugh like audibly. And then the person went to the usual leftist sort of the appeal to authority argument, which is I am a PhD, I know more than you do, and she's gaining notoriety from just coming out and saying like, have their own spaces. And also going back to the Leah Thomas thing, she had come out and said too that Leah Thomas in the locker room to the women untoward in that respect. And again, she brought up the women's safety. This happened Friday, April. And of course, my computer just froze right now as I wanted to just scroll up to see the date of this. On the article, if we get to the point where it's still clocking and I got to the part down here that I can't scroll past right now. So the article says, oh, there we go. Now, yeah, of course, just as I'm about to get started. Again, thank you, computer. Wake up. So yeah, article's from April 8th, again, from Breitbart. It says Friday, so this was on April 7th, less than 24 hours after she was assaulted by an angry mob in San Francisco. Okay, so that was actually on Thursday the 6th. The former University of Kentucky swimmer Riley Gaines appeared on Fox News Channel's Tucker Carlson Tonight to discuss the ordeal. Gaines had been an outspoken critic of transgender females competing in sometimes dominating female sports. She told Fox News host Tucker Carlson she would be taking action against her alleged attackers, vowing that they would face repercussions. So what happened here, and you can find video of this very easily online, is that I don't know if she was speaking or was going to speak, but whatever happened is that she was actually assaulted by the activists that were shouting her down and screaming at her in a hallway. There's video of a woman chasing after her, swearing at her. I'm not going to repeat what the woman said. And thankfully, the police were there. They actually had to barricade her in her room for 3 hours to keep the mob at bay. And then the mob was basically trying to say that they were gonna let her go if they each got $10 a piece. Okay. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know this, but what they were doing sounds very much like kidnapping. Okay. And maybe even extortion. Okay. And right off the bat, somebody somewhere. And I know it was in San Francisco, so I doubt they're going to do anything because they're basically useless. This should be looked into. These people committed a serious crime. Okay. And this should be looked into. And if you want to get crap like this to stop, you need to start doing stuff like this. People need to look into this and go, you did something that's illegal. You can't do that anymore. There are serious consequences to this stuff. Okay. So stay within the law, of course. But I digress. And we'll continue with the article. So again, she said she was going to be taking legal action against her alleged attackers, vowing to face repercussions. Good. That's what we should do. It's a short article, but then there's another part I want to go into. It says, I am worried about my safety. I have to be now, she said. Well, when we have people who are willing to do this, and we know why they're willing to do this, it is because they don't have reason, they don't have logic, they don't have science, they don't have common sense on their side. Very well said. All of that is 100% true. That's on my side. She's correct. And so they protrude by violence, whether it's physical or verbal violence. But what this means for me does not deter me, Gaines continued. Good. This assures me that I'm doing the right thing. This will not silence me. When they want me to be silenced, it just means I need to speak louder. Good. That's the exact attitude everybody on the right needs to have. If these morons that are, this braying mob is coming after you because they don't like what you're saying, and understand that they can't refute your arguments. They just don't like what you're saying, okay? You need to not be afraid. Okay, even though it is scary, okay, and she's a young girl. She's like 22 years old. So, of course, she's probably going to be pretty freaked out by this. But her attitude is, I'm just going to speak louder. I was trying to think of like a situation that I could allude to as well. Just to, and it's not coming to mind right now, so I'm just going to continue on. We'll just say that was an answer on a test or a question on a test I did not know the answer to, so we're just going to skip past it as you learn in school. So she continues by saying, real quick, or Carlson said this, I'm sorry, says, really quick, did anyone in the state of California in authority, any political figure, for example, defend you? And I'm going to guess no. And of course she says no. This is not the dean of students, not the campus police. I will say the city of San Francisco police that stepped in, they did a phenomenal job in escorting 3 hours later. But I will be pursuing legal action. I will ensure that the people who physically assaulted me, the people who put me in that position, they will face repercussions. And yeah, as I said, she was assaulted by a transgender man. I apologize. I can't remember which, if you call male to female, female to male, transgender man, or what, I don't remember. And I'm not going to try to get it right at this exact moment, but she was assaulted. So you're probably going at this point, all right, so what's happened since then? So I come over to RedState, an article from April 9th. So San Francisco State University releases shocking statement on Riley Gaines' assault by the good old Bonchi. So again, there's Riley Gaines. And we'll continue on by saying, as RedState previously reported, which is essentially what the Breitbart article was, says Riley Gaines, a top collegiate swimmer, was assaulted and held hostage after speaking at San Francisco State University recently. Shocking video showed the chaotic scene as police tried to rush Gaines through the hallways, only to have her barricaded in a room for 3 hours. Outside, militant trans activists could be heard demanding money for her release. In the end, not a single person was arrested, which is just an utter travesty. And now, San Francisco State University is praising those who attack Gaines. So this is the culture that we live in, folks. If you are the bad guy, you get praised because you're a victimized group. So you never do anything wrong. So it says in a truly insane statement, Jamila Moore, Vice President of Student Affairs, lauded the protesters, which that's not. It officially was not a protest once, the person speaking once anybody, I should say, gets assaulted. It is no longer a protest. It's basically a riot. She lauded the protesters as brave and in need of healing while failing to even mention the violence that occurred by their hands. So this person here named David, is it Yamas? I'm assuming it's Spanish with the double L, so I will say Llamas instead of llamas because that's the animal. So the San Francisco State University sent the following email about the Riley Gaines TP USA event. It's Turning Point USA. Dear San Francisco State community, today San Francisco State finds itself again at the center of a national discussion regarding freedom of speech and expression. Let me begin by saying clearly, and then it goes on. and let me see where we pick up here. It says, okay, so the trans community is welcome and belongs at San Francisco State University. Sure, of course. Further, our community fiercely believes in unity, connection, care, and compassion, and we value different ideas, even when they are not our own. No, this mob pretty much confirms that you do not. And it's funny how all of these folks have to release statements after the fact like this, and they basically make the same statements, and it's like, you obviously don't feel this way. You're just saying this to, I guess, ward off any responsibility for your actions. But anyway, the statement continues. San Francisco State is regularly noted as one of the most diverse campuses in the United States. Who gives a shit? This is what makes us Gators, and this is what makes us great. Diversity promotes critical discussions. It doesn't do anything of the sort, but okay. New understandings and enriches the academic experience. It does none of those things. It's just a word. But we also may find ourselves exposed to divergent views, and views we find personally aberrant. And she said nothing that's aberrant. Okay, again, you just don't like what she's saying. Again, she's not saying anything, factually incorrect. You just don't like what she's saying. Okay, so that seems like more of a you problem. It says these encounters sometimes led to discord, anger, confrontation, and fear. We must meet this moment and unite with a shared value of learning. Well, at least that part is say, like, okay, we don't like what they're saying, but maybe we can learn something from that, because maybe that's a possibility. Okay, it says thank you to our students who participated peacefully. Are you fucking kidding me? In Thursday's evening's event. That was not a dude. You can go look at, again, this is the same thing what they did with the 2020 protests. Okay, it was all like the one CNN dude or the MSNBC guy, whoever it was, one of those garbage networks, was standing out by burning buildings with people running with looted stuff everywhere, and he's like, this is a peaceful protest, or they're protesting peacefully. It was like, this is basically the same thing. Okay, so no, this was absolutely not peaceful. So it took tremendous bravery to stand and challenge space. Okay, so it took them tremendous bravery, not the young girl who was locked in a room for 3 hours with a braying mob that had already assaulted her. Okay, and that was demanding money for her release. Okay, somehow that's not brave. I'm sorry, but you got it completely backwards, you moron. And then she continues, says, I am proud of the moments where we listened and asked insightful questions, and that might be referring, I guess maybe Riley Gaines had spoke already. I don't know, but I'm given the reaction that we've all seen, I doubt that was a thing that happened where they listened and asked insightful questions. I'm also proud of the moments where our students demonstrated the value of free speech. You absolutely did not. Okay, so that's just a lie. And right to protest peacefully, again, that's not what these words do not mean what you think they mean. It says these issues do not go away, and these values are very much at our core. This feels difficult because it is difficult. For who? The students shouldn't feel difficult for. They were the ones doing all the bad shit. They got away with everything. It says, as you reflect, process, and begin to heal, please remember that there are people, resources, and services available and ready to receive our Gator community, including faculty, staff members, coaches, and mentors are here to support you. Campus resources are also available. Equity and community inclusion, which should be abolished everywhere because that's a nonsense job that doesn't do anything. It's basically, what is it? The political officer. I'm thinking of the Hunter for Red October. The political officer on the boat to make sure everybody stayed in line, sort of thing. It didn't say anything out of whack. That gets reported to the higher up. So that's all that is. Get rid of that office. Counseling and psychological services, because you clearly need that so much when you're the ones assaulting people. I'm sorry, but if I kick the shit out of somebody, I don't think I'm the one that needs the counseling. Okay, it's probably the other person. And then the Dean of Students Office says the well-being of San Francisco State campus community remains our priority. Nothing happened to them. So why not the well-being of the speaker who everybody assaulted? Sincerely, Jamal Moore, Education, Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. Fire this person. This is a dumbass. This is a person, again, like most people on the left, who doesn't actually know what words mean. So the article continues from the author himself. Says San Francisco State has decided that the real victims in this case are the screeching, hysterical trans activists who physically assaulted and kidnapped someone for using their First Amendment rights. That's correct. I'd call the statement tone deaf, but it's not tone deaf because this is exactly the tone that San Francisco State is shooting for, which is to claim that those committing violent acts or just being generally deranged are actually the ones who were victimized. They were not. Moore even provides links to counseling and equity and community inclusion services in the email. Don't get me wrong, every single one of these protesters needs counseling and more, but not in the way Moore is suggesting. Right. How else am I supposed to read the statement except as an open admission that trans activists are above the law, both in regard to the state and the universities they attend. Now, seriously, it reminds me, there's a pretty famous recent Family Guy cutaway scene. Maybe it's not a cutaway scene, but Quagmire's father is transgender, and he goes to a bar, and the bartender says something to him. I don't remember what it was, but he responds with like, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I'm trans." And the bartender responds and says, "Oh, in that case, it's fine. Just do whatever you want all the time." That's what that means, essentially. It just reminded me of that. So, article continues, says they can apparently assault people and violate the rights of others with impunity. Exactly. You literally had a hostage taking captured on video. San Francisco, that's more accurate. That is an actual hostage taking. And the police made 0 arrests while the university praised the hostage takers. So this is like the Nashville shooting now, where a trans person committed a shooting and everybody just said the trans community is under attack. And it was like, what about the Christians who were murdered and the children? Anybody want to talk about that? No? Okay, so it's like, again, your priorities are completely bass-ackwards. It says, what are normal people supposed to even do with that? So the answer is becoming more clear. Get out. Yep. It says, you will not be protected in these far-left jurisdictions because the systems were stacked with partisan activists from top to bottom. We saw that with the recent murder conviction of Daniel Perry, which I've made a couple of videos on at this point. Hopefully things do work out in his favor because he did nothing wrong. It says the cops are activists, the university administrators are activists, and the district attorneys are activists. I understand the desire to fight back and retake ground, but you aren't retaking San Francisco State. No, you're not. And at some point, your personal safety and the safety of your family have to come first. If you remain in these deep blue areas, it's just a matter of time before you're victimized. Yep, that's correct. So anybody that's in like a deep blue area, your values are going to be used against you. And if you don't, regardless of your political leanings, if you don't want your values to be used against you, if you don't want someone to break into your home and you fight back and hurt that person, then you are the one that gets arrested. Get the hell out of there. Leave. Go somewhere else. Okay, it says, lastly, Gaines needs to take legal action here. And that was the previous Breitbart article. So she needs to sue the university, correct. Those who attacked her, correct. And the police department if they refuse to make arrests. Yeah, that's what I would go with. I was kind of on the fence about her suing the police department because they actually, you can see them, they are helping her. But I still think there might be something warranted there. Again, not a lawyer, don't know what that would be, but especially if they refuse to make arrests, then yes, they should absolutely be sued. So the article concludes, says, I'm not a lawyer, so I understand it's more complicated than my one-sentence demand, but there are absolute legal remedies to pursue in this case. The only way this stops is when consequences are put on the table. 100% correct. So that's kind of what's happening with the Riley Gaines situation now, from pretty much the beginning to what's happening at this moment. So I hope I have a follow-up video coming sooner rather than later of her suing the bejesus out of pretty much everybody, because that was 100%. It seems like there's suable things here, like the article says, that there's an actual hostage taking captured on video and nobody's doing anything about it. So I'm glad she's okay, and I'd be glad regardless of who she was. If the roles were completely reversed, I'd feel the same exact way, where if it was some trans person got mobbed by a bunch of right-wingers, I'd feel the same way. I'm glad they're okay. So I'm glad she's okay, and I hope she does take action on this. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this entire situation from beginning to end, or what you think the outcome may be. Like, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon with a positive update. Talk to you later. Bye.